Thanks for tapping in with Street TV. My name is Alex Alonso, and I was just here to kind of finalize the the, the guilty verdict and all the counts that Eric Holder was found guilty of, and then kind of maybe sum up how much time how much time he's looking at. So he was pretty much found guilty of everything. He was found not guilty of one of the charges. He was found not guilty of attempted murder on Kerry Latham. That was the man who got shot in the lower back, upper buttocks area. John McKinney was trying to get the jury to believe that Eric Holder was trying to kill everybody that was standing there between the two white cars. And that's probably just one thing the jury did not agree. The jury did not believe that Eric Holder was trying to kill Kerry Latham or Shemai Villanueva. They understood that this was an attack on one person, Nipsey Hussle. So that was count two. He was found not guilty of that count. But everything else he was found guilty of. He was found guilty of attempted voluntary manslaughter. That's a tough charge for me to remember. Attempted, it's kind of an unusual charge. Attempted voluntary manslaughter. It almost doesn't make sense, that charge. Attempted voluntary manslaughter. So he was found guilty of attempted voluntary manslaughter against both Kerry Latham and Shemai Villanueva. And then he was found guilty of assault with a firearm. That was count 5. And then he was found guilty of count 6, which was a felon in possession of a firearm. So pretty much found guilty of everything except the attempted murder on Kerry Latham. So is the audio messing up? One guy says audio's messed up. Audio's fine on AK Sound God. I'm raising the volume up just a little bit on that. How's that sound? Okay, I just raised the volume up just a tad. Just a tad on that. So he was pretty much found guilty of everything. There were 6 counts, and he will be sentenced in September 15th. So would I go on Hoodstocks? I was trying to figure out the total number of years that Eric Holder is looking at. And let's look up attempted voluntary manslaughter. Attempted voluntary manslaughter. Does anyone want to take a guess how many years that carries in the state of California? Attempted voluntary manslaughter in the state of California. Because he was found guilty of 2 of those charges. 2 of those. That's Penal Code 192. See, voluntary manslaughter is one thing, but he was found guilty of attempted voluntary manslaughter. So he's got 2 counts of attempted voluntary manslaughter. Now, manslaughter, the max on manslaughter is 11 years. Voluntary manslaughter is 11 years. But attempted voluntary manslaughter is something completely different. And maybe someone knows. It might be 6. Lorena says 6. I believe she's correct on 6. So attempted voluntary manslaughter most likely will be a 6-year sentence. assault with a firearm in the state of California. Does anyone know how many years that is? Assaults with a firearm, which is similar. It should be similar to assault with a deadly weapon, but they say assault with a firearm so you can get the gun enhancement as well. Assault with firearm. As a felony, assault with a firearm can be punishable up to 4 years in state prison. So it looks like that's 4 years. Did anyone find old school got it right? 4 years for the assault with a firearm. It looks like 6 years for attempted voluntary manslaughter. And he's got 2 assault with firearms for the two other victims. And then a felon in possession of a firearm. Anyone know what the sentence on that is in the state of California? That's a pretty small sentence, actually. I know in other states, I think in New York, you're going to prison for maybe 4 or 5 years for possession of a firearm. But in California, that sentence is much lesser. Felons caught in possession of a firearm can face up to 3 years. That's up to 3 years. 3 years for a possession, a felon in possession of a firearm. And then we all know that the murder on Nipsey Hussle, that's 25 years. And then you got to add all the enhancements. So pretty much everything is doubled. You could just pretty much double all these sentences. So if you was to add this up, let's add this up. Well, the 3 counts, come with an enhancement. Actually, yeah, the voluntary manslaughter, the attempted voluntary manslaughter, both of those have an enhancement. And I believe the assault with a firearm carries an enhancement. And then, of course, the first degree murder carries a gun enhancement. So let's add this up. Now, just because I'm adding it up in this manner doesn't necessarily mean that the judge is going to hand out this sentence in this manner. He could run these sentences concurrently. But let's just play with the numbers here. And if he decides not to run it concurrently, so that's 25 and 25. If he doesn't run the count 1 concurrently, that's 50 years. Count 2, we'll say 12 years because he's going to double that 6-year sentence perhaps. And then count 4 is another 6, we'll say another 12 years if it's not run concurrent. And then the assault with the firearm, those are 4 years each. We'll double that, 4 and 4. We'll add that 16. And then the 3 years for possession of a firearm. Oh man, this guy's looking at a ridiculous amount of time. I'm saying that the max exposure here looks like 93 years. 93 years. When you add up the attempted voluntary manslaughters, the 2 of those, and you add the 2 assault with a firearm. But it's a possibility that the judge will run the attempted voluntary manslaughter and the assault with a firearm, which is basically two counts from the same act. We might run those 2 concurrently. So let's say 6 years. He runs that because it's 6 years and 4 years. But if he doesn't, it looks like 93 years. 50, 60, 70, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. 93 years is what I got here. I doubt the judge is going to give him that. I doubt the sentence will come down like 93 years to life. And of course, that's going to have a life to life on it. Life with parole, not life without parole. So it'll be something like 60 years, 70 years, whatever it is, to life with parole. Yeah, that's football numbers. Lorena. Takia Mosley. So I'll take a few questions on this. I was just doing the math on it. Also, I went to Master Burger today. Does anyone want to know what I ordered for the very first time ever? I went to Master Burger today, and I ordered something that I guess Eric Holder is probably never going to eat again. You know, I've been driving by Master Burger for my whole life living here in LA. And I have never stopped at Master Burger. Now the Master Burger on Slauson and Crenshaw is closed down because they put they closed down the strip mall and they got a fence around it. But there's other Master Burgers, and there's actually a Master Burger in my area. There's one on Adams and Crenshaw. Never been there, never ate there, never desired to even stop there. But I decided, let me order chili cheese fries. So I did a video. On ordering the chili cheese fries and then eating it, and I'll post that tomorrow morning. So please check out that chili cheese fries from Master Burger. Oh yeah, there's a Master Burger over there on Western and Vernon. I believe that used to be right next to the donut shop. That blue building used to be a donut shop called McGee's Donuts. But yeah, right in that little cut is another Master Burger. So those are the three Master Burgers. Is there another one? Those are the three. I guess those three: Adams and Crenshaw, Vernon and Western, Slauson and Crenshaw. Is there any other Master Burgers? Do you expect Eric Holder to do an interview in the future? For example, 2020, Dateline. Hey, it's quite possible. I don't know. I don't know if Eric Holder's the type of guy to talk. And if he does talk, he don't seem like he's going to give you too much information. Alex, will you ever do a Holder Jr. interview? I would consider doing it. I would hope that he'd be very transparent, open, and be real. You know, if he does an interview, if I do an interview with him and I already know it's a bunch of BS, I'll probably never post it. But if he's being straight up, he's being real about it, I definitely would. It's a little different interviewing someone in custody, in prison. But yeah, I'd consider it. What are Eric Holder's chances of winning an appeal in the future? I think it's too early to say. I don't know what issues can come up on appeal. I really don't know. But definitely the main thing to appeal would be the first degree murder. Everything else here, all these other sentences that he was found guilty of, he would be getting out of jail pretty much like within a few months. A 6-year sentence, he's already almost 4 years in. So that means that he would have got time served. The 4-year sentence for attempted assault with a firearm, he would already got time served for that. The 3 years for possession of a firearm, he already did more than that. It would all depend on if it was run concurrent or consecutive. So the only real count here that is going to lead to those football numbers is the count one, the first degree murder with the gun enhancement. So that's the only one. That's the only count worth appealing. And I don't know. We'll see. Hitman 9 Millie says, I want to hear Eric's side of the story. I don't know if we'll ever hear his side of the story. But I have the entire verdict on the Street TV platform. If you haven't watched the verdict, if you haven't watched the whole hearing where he was found guilty, go tap in with that video. It's only about 20 minutes long. Alex, where Lauren London at? I don't know. She never came to court. And it's clear that everyone that was connected to Nip on that level, they all agreed not to come to court. So did Eric Holder not say a single thing the entire trial? He actually, on the day he was found guilty, the judge asked him, do you waive time to be sentenced? Because September 15th is, several months out. He could be sentenced in August. I'm sorry. Yeah, he could be sentenced in August. He's being sentenced September 15th. The judge asked him, do you waive time? He said, yes. That's all we heard in court on Wednesday. Will he remain in PC after sentencing? Now, I don't know if he's even a PC inmate. I don't know if he's PC or if they just put him on, if the jail themselves decided to keep him as a keep away. So we should be careful with calling someone a PC or not. I do know that the 13 guys in that holding tank were PCs, and he wasn't supposed to be in that holding tank. He was put in that holding tank. That's when he got assaulted. But not all keepaways. Eric Holder is considered a keepaway. Single cell, always escorted. And not all those guys are PCs. Some of those guys, they're just high-profile inmates, like O.J. Simpson. He was a keepaway. Lalo Martinez, Mexican mafia guy, was in the county jail some years back. He was on high power. Keepaways. The Menendez brothers back in the late 80s, 89, 90, 91. They were keepaway. So Eric Holder is classified that way, and I don't want to say he's a PC, but when we'll find out for sure if he's a PC or not when he gets to the California Department of Corrections, when he gets to reception. If he gets sentenced in September, he should be on his way. He should be catching the chain on October of 2022. And after that, we'll find out if he's really a PC. And he might end up on a 50-50 yard where half the people on the yard are not PC and the other half are PC. So, but once he gets to the prison yard, I will probably know someone on that yard, and I will try to tap in with somebody to give me the update. Can he appeal on a mental insanity case? I don't know if he has any evidence, any history of being diagnosed with any mental illness in the past, or not in the past, but before 2019, before March of 2019. I don't know. I don't know if he has that history. Have you heard any statement from Black Sam or the immediate family or on the family's reaction to the verdict? No, haven't heard any reaction to the verdict from the family. No. "70 to life with parole means he gets out at the soonest." When? Nah, if he gets sentenced, let's just say he gets sentenced to 50 to life. 50 to life, meaning the judge doesn't run that first count concurrent. If he runs those two 25-year sentences consecutive, 50 years, and he'd be eligible for parole 42 and a half years after. He's been in there for about 3.5 years. Let's say by the time he gets there, it'll be 3.5. So we minus 3.5. He'd be eligible in 39 years. So he'd be eligible for parole in 2061. That's only on count one. If he gets 50 years, he'd be eligible for parole in 2061. Hell, run them concurrent. If they run them concurrent, and if my 93 years is correct, let's see if my 93 years is correct. He's got to do 85% of those 93 years. So that means he'd have to do 79 years of that 93-year sentence, and we're going to minus 4 years credit. We'll minus 4 years credit. So he'd be eligible for parole in 75 years. He's 32 years old. He'd be 107 years old. He'd be 107 years old. Eric Holder will be 107 years old by the time he's eligible for parole if the judge runs all his sentences consecutive. Consecutive meaning back to back to back to back to back. 93 years. 93 years is a consecutive sentence. "93 years is basically the rest of his life, even doing 85% of that. Because he'd have to do 70, he'd have 75 years left. I gave him 4 years credit. So he would be eligible for parole in 2097. 2097. I said concurrent. I probably meant to say consecutive. When I say consecutive, that means the sentences are running back to back to back to back to back. So you just add them all up. Consecutive is just add them all up. I don't think he's going to get a complete consecutive sentence. He may get the count one to run consecutive, and then he might have some of the other counts like count 2 and 3 to run concurrent, count 4 and 5 to run concurrent, and maybe count 6 to run concurrent as well. So great interview would be with Raul Ramos. Who is Raul Ramos? Tap me in with Raul Ramos, and I'll make that happen. Faith Cook says Eric Holder does not deserve to see the light of day ever again. How many people think that Eric Holder should do some time, but get out of prison at some point? Maybe, when he's 55. We got American Cholo tapping in. Thank you very much. How many people think that Eric Holder should get out at some point? Because that's what the R in the CDCR stands for, rehabilitation, after maybe 35 years. In 35 years, he'll be 67. Because eventually, the reality of the California Department of Corrections, the reality with very few exceptions is that Eventually, everybody gets out, even those that are found guilty of first-degree murder. Eventually, everyone gets out, even those that are found guilty of first-degree murder. So we're talking about these crazy sentences if the judge decides to run this thing concurrent. But just to keep it real, most over 95% of people found guilty of first degree murder in the state of California will get out again. That's just the reality of it. They will come home again. He got a life sentence, but that doesn't mean he's never getting out, because it's 2 life eligible for parole. So everyone that's eligible for parole, I'd say 95% of those that are eligible for parole are coming home. Yeah, Robert Johnson says even if he did 30 years, he'd be damn near 70 when he gets out. Gascon is getting recalled just like the fool booed in. Hey, do you know if Gascon is recalled and it is a successful recall, if George Gascon is successfully recalled, John McKinney, the guy who prosecuted Eric Holder, he's running for DA. He's going to run for DA. I would vote for McKinney in a heartbeat, says I Play with Toys. Right now, I think McKinney is very popular. I think the city appreciates the work that McKinney did. And like right now is the perfect timing for him to jump into this political race, you know, off of the success of the first degree murder conviction that he just got, the success of the prosecution of the guy that killed Nipsey Hussle. This is the perfect time for him to jump in there and and become the DA. But only if the recall against George Gascon is successful. What's up with China Dog interview? Or you know what? I haven't really tried to reach out to China Dog. I think I should. In fact, just reminded me of something. All right, it's the 30-minute point right now. Usually, this is when I dip out. I usually do 30 minutes or 1 hour. I don't know if you guys want me to take some more questions, but I definitely want you to tap in with the chili cheese fries video that I will post tomorrow morning. Tap in with that. Tell me what you think. The chili cheese fries from Master Burger. Rest in peace to Sandman the Goose. Man, Sandman the Goose, that was my dude. Man, I got some footage of Sandman the Goose, but it's a little blurry. It's a little out of focus. Man, Sandman the Goose was a good guy. Man, it's a tragedy what happened to Sandman the Goose and how he got gunned down. But that was my dude, Sandman the Goose. I met Sandman the Goose. Actually, I met Sandman the Goose maybe a year after I met Nipsey Hussle. So I met Sandman the Goose in like maybe 2008, 2009, 2008. Nice guy. Oh man, always used to see him in Leimert Park all the time. And I always had a camera on me, and he would say, "Hey, Alex, shoot me, videotape me." And I was always like in the middle of something where I couldn't really videotape him. But Sandman the Goose, I wish I did an interview with Sandman the Goose. Cowboys an easy interview. Recently, he was seen speaking to investigators. Any questions on Eric Holder's verdict, his sentencing, what he was found guilty of? Uh, I think I'm gonna pop off this live, but I'll give you a quick rundown of what he was found guilty of real quick. First degree murder, count one, all the gun allegations to be true. He was found not guilty of a first degree attempted murder of Carrie Latham, but found guilty of attempted voluntary manslaughter. Then found guilty of assault with a firearm against Carrie Latham. And then on count four, he was found guilty of attempted voluntary manslaughter against Shermai Villanueva. And then he was found guilty on count five with assault with a firearm. And then count six was felon in possession of a firearm. So those are all six counts. He was found guilty of all six. On count two, he was found guilty of the lesser included charge of attempted voluntary manslaughter. The only success that the defense could say is that they found Eric Holder not guilty of first degree attempted murder in count two. Other than that, across the board, guilty. Someone says, tell his story, Sandman the Goose. Hey, if someone could tap me in with Sandman the Goose's family, siblings, brothers, sister, definitely, I would tap in with that story. But I would have to get contact with someone that was close to him, preferably family. Is Cousin Carrie willing to do an interview on Street TV or no? I doubt it. I'm not sure if that's something that he would do. Michelle McCallum, how you doing? Thanks for tapping in. We're just talking about the verdict. We're talking about the guilty verdicts that Eric Holder received on Wednesday and how much prison time he's looking at. Dr. Beavis says, first-time viewer, hope things are well. Cheers from Alabama, the Deep South. Thanks for tapping in. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't been subscribed to the channel. I'm going to be trying to keep people tapped in on this case and other cases coming up. Sandman the Goose was from Sudan and moved to LA when he was 7 years old, according to Faith Cook. I wonder if there's anyone that is related to Sandman the Goose, maybe a brother or a sister that someone can tap me into. I had a lot of love for Sandman the Goose. The guy, every time I saw Sandman the Goose, he had a smile on his face. He seemed like the happiest guy in the world and was always willing to talk. Always willing to talk. Did Eric Holder's family come to trial? No, no one from either side's family came to trial. This was a trial that was absent of family, and it was a little surprising. Michelle McCallan says, I love your content. Can tell you from NYC. How can you tell I'm from NYC? I grew up in Los Angeles. I've been in LA since I was 11 years. Well, I came at the age of 11 the first time. Well, yeah, the very first time to live, I was 11 years old. And then I went back to New York when I was 14 and came back to LA. But how's work? September 15th is my B day. Yes, that's the same day Eric Holder will be sentenced. He'll pretty much be sentenced to at least years that will take him into his elderly years. He will be probably in his 60s when he's eligible for parole. That's on the low end. On the high end, if the judge wants to be, if the judge wants to make an example out of him, man, this guy can get almost 100 years. He can get almost 100 years in prison. And eligibility date will be past his life expectancy because he's already 32 years old. Is it a chance Eric Holder wins a possible appeal? Now, there's always a chance you could win on your appeal. There's always a slight chance. You know, every month down the pipeline, there's cases that are getting convictions overturned. They're sending them back to the court for guys to get retried. So it's quite possible. Did Eric punk Nipsey that day before the shooting? I don't think Eric punked Nipsey. I think there was a conversation that was tense, and then the conversation ended, and we don't really know the exact, the exact words of that conversation. That's why they wanted to bring Rimpaw into court so badly, because he's the only other guy that knows exactly what that conversation entailed. How do I feel about everybody being black in this case? Yeah, I've never seen, I mean, there's not too many black judges in the courthouse. I remember on the ninth floor, there was one black judge for many years named Judge Bowers. I'm not sure if Judge Bowers is still on the ninth floor. He has the courtroom in the corner. And I haven't checked if Bowers is still there. So, yeah, to see a prosecutor and a defense attorney and a judge and a detective and a co-counsel and the court reporter all black. Yeah, that was interesting. Michelle McCallum, she's tapping in. Thank you, Michelle McCallum, for tapping in. Eric gonna get shanked within the next few years. What courthouse? CCB? Yes, CCB is the courthouse on West Temple in downtown Los Angeles. And that's where this trial took place. What hood was the Latino from? You're asking the Latino guy that touched up Eric Holder in that holding tank. I'll probably save that for another time. I just got to make sure it's okay to put that information out there. Green Ave is tapping in. Want to hear more from you about and guessed about LA history and surrounding areas about gang culture, beefs, peace treaties, and more. Yeah, we can do that. We can do that. There's a never-ending amount of information on LA gang history, peace treaties, all that. I was involved in a couple of peace treaties myself, and I'm looking to get involved in a few more. COVID really ruined the momentum that I had. Right before COVID, I was on a nice streak of working with different neighborhoods and bringing them to the table. COVID hit, and it just kind of derailed all future talks at the time. But at some point, I want to get back into it. you guys can keep throwing in different barrios, but I'm not gonna say where the guy was from. Just let a little time pass. A little time pass. Was Nipsey still cool with Sandman before they died? I never heard that they weren't cool. So you know, if they weren't cool, if they were cool, I don't know. That's something that wasn't like publicly known. If whatever. But I do recall when I first met Sandman the Goose, everything was cool. I remember him saying stuff about Nip. I think he even talked to me once about the interview I did with Nipsey. That's what it was. He saw my Nipsey Hussle interview, which was in 2009, and he had said, "Hey, you got to do an interview with me one day." The very first time I met him, I didn't know who he was. Sandman the Goose we're talking about. And then after, after a few weeks and months, I was like, "Oh man, I know who you are now." And we were going to do it at some point. But yeah, Sandman the Goose asked me to do an interview with him because he had saw Nipsey's interview, and he said, "Hey, you interviewed my homie from the hood on his rapping and his music." He said, "I rap too." So that's how I met Sandman the Goose. I got some footage of Sandman the Goose. One day we was messing around, and but it was out of focus. My camera was out of focus. I was looking at it one day and I was just like regretting it. I was like, man, this is so out of focus. But I still got it. It's on one of these drives. I don't know. I got one, two, three, four, five. I got six drives right here. These are all full of footage. Some of that footage, some of that footage goes back 10 years. So was it true about the 75,000 that Eric Holder said that he received? Faith Cook, there was that never happened. Eric Holder never said he received $75,000. If that would be all over the internet right now. Where can we find the exhibits from the trial? Super savage ass. Well, you know what? I sent an email today regarding the exhibits. I don't know how much the exhibits are going to cost, but thanks to some of these super chats that I'm getting right now, I will definitely tap in with the court and get all the exhibits. It's probably going to cost a couple $100. I don't know, everything, the prices have gone up on everything. And also there's a lot of media files to get. So I don't know if it's going to cost me $200, $300, $400, $500. But whatever the case is, I'll be sure to use some of these super chats that came in today. And then whatever else I got to pay, I'll pay. And I know a lot of people are interested in those exhibits, but one thing I'm not going to do is I'm personally never going to make public the autopsy photos. I'm not going to do that. In fact, I hope they seal the autopsy photos. Alex, did you ever go to the Sassoni arcade on Broadway back in the day? Well, there used to be an arcade in downtown LA where the bus terminal, yeah, it was on 7th and Broadway, I believe. 7th and Broadway. There was a bus terminal there where all the buses, like the buses that traveled across the country. I'm not talking about the city buses, like the trailways and all those buses. And then there was an arcade right there. And there used to be a lot of 18 streeters in that arcade. In fact, there was a lot of black dudes. Hey, when I was hanging out in downtown LA, when they used to have the bus terminal there and the arcade, a lot of those black dudes was representing 18th Street. That was interesting. You don't see that as often today, but back then, yeah. Green Ave, thank you. If there's no paperwork on Eric being a snitch, do you think he'll have supporters in prison? Well, I don't want to say that he's going to have supporters, and I want to thank I Play with Toys because all these super chats, I'll just use them to get the exhibits. I play with toys, appreciate it, and it's possible he might have some supporters, but there's a lot of Nipsey Hussle fans, and he's gonna have to run a whole lot of fades, man. He's gonna lose all his teeth. He's gonna get busted up quite a few times. If he don't know how to fight, he's gonna learn how to fight quickly. It's just gonna be a hell of a ride. Tito Pena says he is not going to make it past reception. Damn. He is not going to make it past reception. DR Beavis, just supporting the fund for future endeavors. Hey, that I appreciate the tap in for all future endeavors, because I'm going to also cover the Pop Smoke case. I'm going to cover that case. And I'm thinking of covering the Slim 400 case, since they got people in custody on both of those. But Slim 400 is not going to trial. The guy that killed him won't be going to trial for a year or two. And then the Tory Lanez case, I think I might tap in with the Tory Lanez case. That should be going this year. The guy who killed Pop Smoke should be going this year. So we got two high-profile trials occurring in Los Angeles this year. So I'll tap in with those trials, and of course, all these super chats and all this support will go right back into those efforts. All his records were sealed. Who you referring to? What about Indian Red Boy? Any info? Well, I don't think anyone has been arrested in the shooting of Indian Red Boy. Everyone in that cell should have laid out Holder. Well, you got to remember, it was probably like 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning. Half the people in that cell were probably falling asleep, trying to get some rest. And it was only 13 people. Now, if it was a huge holding tank, Someone says I should interview Treyway 6K. D Hawk. Hey, if you got a line on Treyway 6K, if you got a way to tap in with him, make that happen, and I'll give you the credit. All the credit goes to D Hawk if he can make that Treyway 6K interview happen. Did Eric get that pistol out the window of Master Burger? No. No. There's absolutely zero evidence that he got a pistol out the window. Both the pistols that he actually had a pistol in his front pocket, his front right pocket. And then when he went back to the car, the girl said that he was loading up this pistol that he obviously put in the car earlier, probably had it wrapped up in that red T-shirt. So I doubt very much that he got a pistol from Master Burger. Michelle McCallan, thank you very much for tapping in again. Anybody from LA? Anyone from the land? Anyone from Southern California? Let me know where you guys are tapping in from. 84th. Are you going to cover Slim 400? Yeah, I'll cover that case as well, but you got to remember that case ain't going to happen for a couple of years. And you also got to remember, not all cases go to trial. So there might be some negotiations and some plea deals. Because at the end of the day, most of these attorneys, the prosecutors, are trying to avoid a trial. If they can get a deal that their bosses are fair with, they'll take the deal. We got Watts, we got downtown, we got Oklahoma City. Will Eric Holder have access to phones, contraband, etc.? Yeah, Eric Holder will most likely have access to everything else that people have access to in prison. So, yeah, he'll have access. West LA, Elgin's from the Bronx. Pittsburgh is in the house. Alley Oop. Alley Oop is always leaving comments on my thing. Allegheny County. Tucson. OG Shags is representing Tucson. What's up with the first picture of the driver girl? Definitely different. Well, I think that whatever you saw before was not the girl, that was the driver. The very first time that a picture of the driver was published was on the first day of this of opening statements. So, and that's the same girl that's in the video being interrogated by the police for 5 hours on April 2nd. So whatever other girl, that was all internet rumors. Some other girl that was circulating around. And this girl, Bernita Nicholson, is not a gang member. She is not from Hoover. She has never gang banged. She has no gang tattoos. She has no history of any criminal activity. She's never been to jail before. She's been working her whole life. She's a working girl, goes to work every day, and then she does Lyft on the side. So any rumors about some girl that was a gang member from Hoover that was the driver, those are untrue. All of those are untrue. And I was just in a clubhouse room the other day, and this guy swears that she's from Hoover. And, I later find out he's not even from LA, so he doesn't know. But Bernita is affiliated with the 60s. No, she is affiliated with no gang. She has no gang ties. And think about it. Some people believe if this girl is from Hoover, that's a rival to the 60s. So a girl from Hoover is going to pick up a guy from 60s, and somehow she's going to manipulate the Hoover girl is going to manipulate the 60 guy to shoot and kill Nipsey Hussle. That's a real theory that I heard the other day. That's a real theory that the girl, Bernita, ordered the hit. I have to laugh. I'm sorry, I have to laugh, but it's just completely untrue. All right, I'm definitely going to tap out of here in about 5 minutes when this becomes an even hour. Unless there's like 300 people. If there's more than 300 people in this room, I'll stay in. But I'll take some more questions for the next 5 minutes. We got 260 in the room right now. Will you request an interview with Eric Holder, says G. Williams. I don't know. I don't know. Faith Cook says that heifer took a pic with Nip. She sure did take a pic with Nip. Interview Rimpaw. Wouldn't that be something if I get an interview with Rimpaw, but the state of California couldn't drag him into court, but I get the interview? We'll see. I'll tap in with Rimpaw. Did Eric have a criminal record? Yes. He was arrested in 2012 for possession of a handgun. That's how he became a felon. If you notice, in this case, count 6 is felon in possession of a handgun. And he got a felony conviction for that gun possession in 2012. Will you travel to other cities to cover more content? I'm open to covering more content in other cities so long as the people in those other cities fly me out and host me. A couple cities have done that in the past. Houston flew me out, hosted me, rental car. That's it. Just put me in a room, get me a rental car, and pay for my airfare, and I will spend the whole weekend with you guys. The whole weekend. Eric Holder friend said she's a real gangster, not saying Eric Holder's friend did not. Which Eric Holder's friend? Who's that? Who says that? Seashells Prosperity. How was someone able to threaten Bernita if she's not affiliated with the 60s? I mean, you don't have to be affiliated with any gang to get a threatening phone call. And, you know, some people even say it's not a threatening call. I thought it was a threatening call. Someone said it's not a threatening call. Someone called her up, found her number, which is not hard to find, and just said, "You're the reason why Nipsey Hussle was killed." That Nipsey Hussle was killed. She hung up. Is that a threatening phone call? Give me a thumbs up if that's a threatening phone call. Give me a thumbs down if that's not a threatening phone call. The person said, "You're the reason why Nipsey Hussle's dead." And then she hung up on that person. Give me a thumbs up if that's a threatening phone call. Give me a thumbs down if it's not a threatening phone call. Again, all the person said was, "You're the reason why Nipsey Hussle's dead." And within a couple of moments, she hung up the phone. She characterized that as a threatening phone call. I characterized it as a threatening phone call. But then someone said, "That's not a threatening phone call." And I guess if you can get technical on it, you know, on the words being used, the person said, "You're the reason why Nipsey Hussle's dead." Thumbs up if that's a threatening phone call. Thumbs down if it's not a threatening phone call. And I'm not asking you if you believe she's the reason or not. I just want to know, do you think that is a threatening phone call? She's about to come to court. She's about to testify. She gets this phone call that the person says, "You're the reason why Nipsey Hussle's dead." And then she hangs up. Well, it sounds like most people believe it's a threatening phone call. Thumbs up if it's a threatening call. Thumbs down. Give me a thumbs down if it's not. I'm seeing more thumbs ups. Oh, I see a few thumbs down. Is it typical to get probation for a gun in LA? Yes. If it's your first offense, it's typical to get probation. It is. All right, people. Since we don't have 300 in the room, I'm going to cut this. I've already extended it by 30 minutes. And I appreciate everyone for tapping in with Street TV. My name's Alex Alonso. I got the chili cheese fries video dropping tomorrow morning. So please tap in with that. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to jump on Clubhouse. I'm only going to go on Clubhouse for about 10 minutes because in Clubhouse you could actually talk to me. So we're gonna go to Clubhouse for about 10 minutes and go look for a room. Street TV presents Eric Holder found guilty, or Eric Holder found guilty. Street TV presents Eric Holder found guilty. Tap in at the Clubhouse app. I'm only going to stay there for a few minutes, and you can just personally, you can verbally ask me some questions there, and don't forget about the videos I'm going to upload in the morning. Good night, unless you're coming to the Clubhouse.